Hey everybody, it's Gene Marks. I recently had a conversation with Rodney Tovvas. Rodney is the Global Inbound Customer Experience Vice President at a company called Quadient, which is a global technology services company. Rodney has many decades of providing great customer experience and customer service to their community and other communities as well. And he has some great advice to share for all of us as business owners as to how to really provide great customer experience for our customer community as well. Rodney is a customer of Talkdesk. Talkdesk provides great customer service applications, a super platform. They've recently introduced Talkdesk Express, which is designed specifically for small businesses. Now, my conversation with Rodney is targeted towards small businesses like mine, like yours. I think you're going to learn a lot. So, hope you enjoy this conversation. Hey, everybody, it's Gene Marks, and I am talking today to Rodney Tovvas. Rodney, I want to make sure I get your title absolutely correct. It's the VP of Global Inbound Customer Experience at Quadient.
Yes, that is correct.
All right, that's great. Well, first of all, I'm so glad that you're joining me for this conversation. We should have a lot of fun, and hopefully, people watching this will walk away with some good advice about customer service. I mean, you are, a VP of Global Customer Experience, so you've got that background. So let's just for a few minutes, just talk a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you get to the role of a vice president at a company like Quadient? And then also, we want to learn a little bit about what Quadient does as well. Is that fair enough?
Absolutely. A little bit of history of me. I started years ago after I got out of school doing odds and ends different jobs, and I happened to find one in a call center back many, many years ago.
Okay.
And it really was exciting to me on the new technology that was slowly being built up and moving. And I absolutely moved through the company. I worked at Sprint for many years
Hmm.
and went from agent to supervisor to manager, was able to explore different roles in the company. And I just love the call center industry. I
Hmm.
love the whole thing about staffing and taking care of customers. And that's what I've been doing for, the last 25 years or so, probably closer to 30 years.
It's crazy. It's
And
funny about call centers as well because you have this vision in your mind of some giant room in India or China
yeah,
or something, people taking those calls. And the perception of like call centers themselves are just, I don't know, they just seem like drudgery or negative or they're just getting yelled at by customers. And yet you love this stuff because clearly it's not that way. Why break that myth? It's not. What is your call center like at Quadient?
At Quadient, we're global, and so I have call centers in multiple countries and different regions around the world.
Hmm.
But it's really about taking care of the customer, and we find the right kind of employee that is
Hmm.
passionate about solving a problem and making that customer happy. And yes, customers don't call us to say hi and they're doing well. They call us because they have a problem, or they
Yeah.
email us or chat with us. And it's just exciting for the team to be able to solve a problem and turn that disgruntled customer around. And I think that's what makes so many of us want to stay in the industry. We like
Hmm.
really solving customer problems and changing their perception. Yeah, that's fantastic.
What does Quadient do?
Quite, we're our vision is really to be, the most trusted connections between businesses and their data and their customers. And what that means is we really help customers in all areas as far as physical mail, how they
Mhm.
keep in contact with their customers through physical mail. We help through digital software where we're moving customers from physical mail to digital mail. That's huge for a lot of companies.
Mhm.
And then we do what's called our locker business, which we help customers the last mile where they're ordering those Amazon packages, and instead of them being delivered to the apartment door or the university door, they're in the locker. So we really help our customers stay connected with their customers and their other businesses.
And your customers are other businesses, is that correct? Are you like a B2B company?
Well, we're both.
Okay.
A lot of it is B2B. It's
Okay.
businesses that have our mailing machines or businesses that are using our digital software to make invoices and things for their customers. But in our locker business, we also talk to the end user customers. So not
Mm.
only do we talk to the property management who have bought the lockers and are using them for their clients, we're talking to the end users who can't get that package out of that locker, or they're it hasn't been delivered, and so we have to solve that problem. So we do both. We do B2B and C2B.
Got it. What's the difference? Like, how do you, what's the different approach that your teams have to take when dealing with a problem with a consumer as a customer versus a business as a customer?
I get asked that a lot because it's very different.
It
When you're
is.
dealing with a business, it's more of a professional interaction.
Mm.
It's an office manager calling, I've got this issue. And most of the time, it's not mission critical. It's, yes, we need to get this invoice digitally out or something, and
Mm.
it could take us a few days or a week to solve the problem. It's not as critical. But
Mm.
if you're an individual waiting on a package at a locker, it's very personal. And so those customers have very little patience, very little, willingness to wait over
Yeah.
time to solve a problem. It's very immediate. So that's kind of the different. You have to have two different mindsets for that.
Okay. Fair enough. It amazes me when I talk to customer service people as a consumer, the level of patience or the level of stuff that they'll put up with. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
get irate sometimes or frustrated or impatient or whatever. And I have to tell you, I have had very few, very rare experiences where I've had a bad experience with the customer service rep. I mean, I might not like the outcome of whatever was decided, but for the most part, like the reps themselves seem to be pretty good. And I'm wondering, what does it take as a manager yourself? What do you do to get those reps to do, to have the right attitude and to have the patience and all? I mean, it can't be just something you're just born with. I mean, it's a lot of
No.
training has to be part of that, right?
Yeah, it's really about the training. Well, first of all, you've got to identify and try to find that right talent.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't, all of us with hiring, sometimes we don't. But it really comes back to the training and the tools. Not only do you need a good training program, but you've got to give them the tools to solve the problem.
Mm.
And what I found, even when we had a bad month where maybe we had longer than normal hold times or something was going on that would make customers even more upset, if they got to that agent and that agent was able to do first call resolution or at least take the ownership to convince that customer they would solve it, it immediately calmed everything down. And
Mm.
even when we had those bad experiences of maybe long hold time, if the agent handled that call correctly, it calmed every customer down. So I think it's about the training and it's about giving them updated tools so they
Sure.
can answer the questions and solve the problems. You've got to do both.
It's great. It's great advice. So, when I deal with, I mean, my firm, we sell technology ourselves, and big surprise, sometimes we have irate clients, and that has happened over the years. One thing that I have learned about dealing with an unhappy client, and I don't know if this is just me, and that's why I want to get your thoughts on it, is I tend to let them talk. I mean, I get on the phone with them, or I mean, face to face. I've had many face-to-face meetings with people where I'm walking into the meeting saying, okay, this is going to be, it's going to be a tough one. But I've always walked in and saying, you know what, I just know this guy just wants to get it off his chest. He wants to have a say. Do you agree with that approach? Is there anything you would add to that?
No, no, absolutely. I think there's two pieces. One, which we try to always teach the agents, just let them vent. Just sit
Yeah,
there, because most of the time a customer just wants to be heard. So let them vent and then acknowledge. It's okay to say, wow, I would be upset too. Wow, I can't believe our company made that invoicing error or whatever the situation. Just acknowledging the problem 90% of the time immediately calms them down and they just wanted to vent. And I think that's critical when you teach the agent. And they just can't take it personal. They're not upset at you. They're upset at the situation or the company and,
right.
diffuse them.
Is it ever, appropriate to take the customer's side? I mean, you just mentioned about like, yeah, I can't believe we made that error or whatever. Like, act like not throw the company under the bus, but at the same time say, all right, yeah, we screwed that up. Is that
No,
okay to do?
absolutely. I think the more open and honest and transparent you are, customers get it.
Right.
You can try to dance around it, but if your company made a mistake, I think it's okay to say, hey, we messed this up, and here's how we're going to correct it. Here's how we're going to make it right.
Right.
That's always worked for me. Again, it's not saying your company is messed up and it makes all these mistakes, but in individual instances, it's okay to acknowledge we've got a problem and here's what we're doing to fix it.
Okay.
It's worked for me.
How about empowering your agents? Like what authority do you give them to adjust things? Like, okay, we'll take that charge away, or we
Yeah.
will discount you, or whatever. How does that work at Quadient?
We have a number of areas where we have parameters around what they can do. What I was finding um, in my latest role, we would have agents, a customer would call in to dispute like a late fee, and it was $15 or
Mm,
$5, whatever it might be. And the agents were saying, well, no, you mailed it in late. We did this. And we finally looked at it and we said, how much money are we
right.
actually not giving away? And how frustrating are we really making the customers? And so we put parameters around certain dollar amounts. And then we had tracking. So we
Mm,
could look at it to say, oh, do we have an agent that's going out of parameters or not? So I think it's okay. You've got to empower the agents and understand where it's okay to give them the empowerment, but you've got to be able to look at it and track it to make sure it's staying within those guidelines. But
yeah.
yes, we found many times we would put very strict processes in place that was only frustrating the customer. And it's like, just give the $10 away because now you don't have a customer that wants to cancel,
Yeah.
that's going to continue to give you business.
Yeah, I agree. It's incredible how data has so transformed that. I mean, 20, 30 years ago when our data systems were not as, advanced,
Mhm.
um, I feel like there was more arguments with customer service. They would be more reluctant to waive a charge, or if I had to return a product. I mean, geez, we return products to Amazon all the time, and they
Yeah,
don't even like question. They just give you the refund, whatever.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm convinced that's because they have the data to do exactly what you just said. They look at it and they're like, you know what? We have reserves established. There's a certain amount of cost that we're willing to absorb,
yeah.
as long as we're tracking that. That makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all about the data. It's about the data quality, the data management, so you can see what's really going on.
Fair
Yep.
enough. Fair enof. I'm jumping around here, but I just, I have more because you've been in this world for so long. I'm sure you've got, I mean, you have lots of, opinions on this. You mentioned about hiring, when you hire customer service reps. Tell me about like what goes into that. Like, what have you learned about hiring a good customer service rep? And I'm going to assume you never bat 1,000, right? I'm sure you've
Oh,
made
yeah.
your share of mistakes, and I'm also going to assume that you've had situations where you're like, this person's going to be a rock star, and then like 6 months later, you're like, what was
Yeah.
I thinking for hiring that person? What have you learned about hiring customer service people?
Well, it's really learning about hiring pre-COVID and post-COVID, two different
Interesting.
worlds. And it has been a very big struggle post-COVID
Interesting.
because so much of the interviewing is done remotely.
Hmm.
Um, and it just, you have to try to get that connection. One of the things I really taught my director team was don't just look for call center experience.
Hmm.
For years, that's what we did. Oh, they've been in a call center 5 years. They must be great. We then started looking at other retail type people. If they're working in a mall, clothing store, drive through at McDonald's, they're used to dealing with customers on a regular basis. So we really kind of stopped looking for just call center experience. But then the other thing we wanted to do, if we were bringing somebody in that maybe didn't have that experience, we wanted them to sit with an agent so
Right.
they could sit live and see what it's really like to have a headset on, to have customers calling in. And I think it was just our approach of getting to know the agent more than saying, here's our 15 questions we're going to ask you. And, it was more of let's have a conversation and
Sure.
let's just let them talk and let
Sure.
them talk where we get a feel of it. And again, there's no magic answer to it. It's always, like I tell all of my directors and managers, it's a 50-50 shot. You're either going to get a great employee or maybe not.
It's unbelievable that you say that because I mean you and I are similar generation where I think we've been in the
Yeah.
professional world for a long time. And I only just speaking about myself, I feel the exact same way. I mean, I'm like, I still am a terrible judge of people. Like
Yeah.
you think somebody's going to be great, and then they have all the checked all the boxes, and the paperwork looks great, and they've got all the experience, and then like, oh, that was a bad hire, and
Yeah.
you just don't, you really don't know. Um, when you're in the hiring process for a customer service person, do you guys do testing? Like, do you give them, some firms give them situations or scenarios or, whatever. Other people completely disagree with that approach. I'm curious what your approach is.
No, I mean, we will give them a few scenarios verbally. How would you handle this situation? Or what do you think the best way? Or give me some history on how you dealt with this or that. We do a little bit of that. But to me, you're really not going to know till you get that person onboarded.
Right.
And what I also found is I got some advice from one of my bosses from years ago who said, you don't have a bad agent, you have a bad supervisor. You
Yeah.
don't have a bad supervisor, it means you have a bad manager, meaning
Yep.
it's our responsibility to coach, teach, and show whether it's a frontline agent or a frontline supervisor. And I think what we found, if we give the attention and the coaching and the knowledge, most of them will be successful.
Yeah.
Most of them will. And I think we've really shown that. It's when we don't give them the time and we don't give them the structure that they fall out pretty
Yeah.
quickly.
There's like a chain Italian restaurant near me, and we go in there a few times a year, and like the staff are always like amazing. I mean, they're always like friendly and super. There's the
Yeah.
usual turnover, but they're always, and I feel the exact same way. Rodney, it's like, this is not this chain has like a really good manager here. Like something that they're doing, something the way that they are,
Right.
the way they treat their people, the attitude they have. It's not only infectious, but you don't want to disappoint that person. So you're right. I think it does come down to the supervisors and the managers. Do your supervisors, monitor your customer service reps calls? Do they have a system where they're listening in? And how does that work? And how is that working out?
Well, during COVID, we had to learn how to do things differently.
Right.
And because here in the US, all of our agents went remote immediately, and they're still 100% remote.
Hmm.
And so we needed the ability to where in the building you could just walk up and look and help an agent do things. So we needed the tools to be able to monitor and see what's happening. And it's been a huge benefit for us. Like with Talkdesk, for example, we can do screen capture. And at first, we had to be very cautious with that because agents could say, oh, Big Brother's watching. But then when they realized we were using it to help them,
Hmm.
it made much more sense. So the frontline managers, supervisors have specific quotas of monitors they need to do, feedback. We want to give the agents as much feedback each month as we can. We have a quality assurance individual that monitors calls as well, kind of as a neutral party
Wow.
that gives feedback. So it's so important. And many times the frontline management team that they tend to let that go to the side. And I've always told them, no, you've got to do those monitors because we've got to be able to give that feedback and help those agents. And most of the agents want the feedback. The
Sure.
vast majority love getting that feedback.
What about a work day for your agents as well? Is it different than other employees in the company? Are they required to take breaks? Do you do anything special, flex time, unlimited PTO, things that like, because it's a pretty stressful job,
Yeah.
and you can have people getting pretty upset with you sometimes, regardless of
Yeah.
the industry that you're in. What do you do
Right.
to sort of like help their mental health?
Yeah, it is a tough job because people are not calling just to say hi to us.
Yeah.
And so we're very aware of when agents need additional time or need a break. We try to be as flexible as possible, and really the post-COVID world has given us that ability to be more flexible with schedules and things where now that they're working from home, if they need to run, take the kid to school or pick them up, we can be flexible. And that has been the biggest benefit to our employees and I think their mental health, having more of that flexibility
Yeah.
in the day instead of the core structure that we always had. You come in at 8, you leave at 5, you get a break in the middle of the day, and we're much more flexible
Right.
and creative with scheduling. And so you can kind of use the technology to help you in those ways. But we do have good EAP programs, and we try to keep the agents connected.
Right.
We try to do several events during the year, like during Customer Service Week, where we'll send them all a gift to their house, or something as simple, which you won't believe has made the most positive influences. We send them cookies to their home on their birthday. I thought at first, okay, what is this going to do for us? And we get more positive feedback on
Yeah.
that little gesture. So I think you just got to keep them connected and let them know you're there, you're listening, and make sure you've got a great line of communication between that frontline agent and their immediate manager, supervisor.
Where do you come out on the whole remote working thing? I mean, you've seen both sides of it. And again, it depends on the type of employee, but for customer service employees, how do you feel about remote working?
Oh man, that's a tough. I've
It
got
is.
mixed reviews, and part of it is because globally we do it a little differently. Here in the U.S., we actually got rid of our brick and mortar building, and we're doing 100% remote. We now
Jeez.
have what we call some hub offices where people can come in for a meeting or things, but we don't have a lot of cube space for the
Oh,
agent. So it's not like I can bring in a whole team. But in Europe, like in the UK and Germany and France, we still have our buildings, and the agents come in 2 days a week.
mm,
We are flexible with it. It's not you got to be here 2 days, but most of them like it. They like the
mm,
connection. And what we found, even here in North America, the agents, when we can bring them into the hub office, even if it's just for an event, they really like that connection. So I almost say if you could bring them in a couple of times a month or maybe once a week, it helps with that connection. And I think it helps with that mental piece. But again, it is difficult. It's, you've saved a lot of money from getting rid of the buildings, and so many of the employees want to telecommute. They don't want to drive to the office, and they see
no.
that as a huge benefit. So I think it's just remaining flexible. What works in that region? What works, for that particular type of agent?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and
Mhm.
it really does come to the person that you're managing. I mean, my company, I have 10 people. We're completely virtual. I like to say I run the most dysfunctional company in the country because it's, we don't do a lot of the stuff that you're doing, the getting together stuff and the even the sending. I should be doing that. It's a great idea. It just does bring people together and it does make a difference. But there are a lot of people that are like, we want our call center groups to be face to face. We want to be able to walk
Yep.
around and listen in and talk to them. So I guess it really just depends. One other question before I do want to get to technology. So I am kind of curious about demographics. I mean, how do is there a difference as part of your training? Is there a difference in handling customers from different countries? Is there a difference in handling customers of different genders, or different cultures? What have you found about, and backstory there is one of the products that we sell. The software manufacturer they're an Indian-based company, very nice people. Whenever there's a support issue, though, they don't respond in a way as quick as like an
Mhm.
American company would because
Right.
they're much smarter than us and have been around for many civilizations. And they realize it's
Mhm.
fine, but we, of course, in America, everything is stress.
Right.
I'm curious what you've found about dealing with different demographics of your customers and what you've learned.
Well, there's a couple of things. One, there's a lot of perceptions out there that I found are incorrect.
Okay.
I
Good.
was told originally when I moved to the global position, the French customers will never score you more than 75% customer satisfaction. They're never, and that's the French would tell me that.
That
Well, we've been able to achieve 95% CSAT there. So I think in some ways the customers are all the same. They just want to be helped. They want to have it
Good.
quick. They want to know you've taken ownership of their issue and going to solve it. So in some ways, customers are all alike. However, in regions, you have very different cultures that move at different paces.
Mm,
And some of them are okay with, hey, I don't expect you to solve my problem in the next 2 weeks. That's okay because that's how we move. Where maybe in North America, it's like, I want the answer today. So culturally, different regions of the world are different in how they operate and what they expect from a company. But in general, I think customers want the same thing. They want their
Right.
issue resolved timely, and they want to know that you've taken full ownership of it.
That's great. All right, it's a great answer. All right, let's talk some technology. First question I have is, I mean, you're a Talkdesk user. Obviously, this is a Talkdesk, program, but it is at the same time. I mean, like just generically for customer service applications like a Talkdesk. Talk to me. Tell me, how are you using a product like this, a platform like this? You know what I mean? How are you underusing it, do you
Right.
think? Because people watching this are small business owners. They might not have any experience with these types of applications, and they'd want to know how, like, a company, how you're making use of it.
Well, we really moved in when we decided to move from Prem-based to CCaaS, and we went through the vetting, and then we selected Talkdesk. It was really new for us.
Right.
This was exciting new cloud-based technology, but it really helped us in managing the remote staff and giving us the visibility to what's really happening, and then really pushing us to the next level.
Right.
One of the key objectives that I was trying to achieve was our remote self-service, and how do we move from needing as many live agents to more digital and allowing customer self-service. So the technology allowed us to do that. It allowed us to look at the voice bot. We're about to launch the chat bot. We started doing things like SMS texting, because the reason why we call my centers customer interaction centers is because we're not just a call center. We
Right.
interact with the customer via email, chat, SMS,
Sure.
SMS texting. And we needed the technology to help us move forward. And it really, when we think about what we're doing now with the chatbot and how many customers just want to use that, they just want to get their answer quick. They want to go through a few steps and not have to talk to anybody or stay on hold, or they can try to chat with us at midnight, 1 a.m., and that's okay because we have that active. So I think
Right.
when you think about some of that basic thing, and I don't think it matters if you're a small company or a large company, generally customers want the same thing. If they have a question, they want to get an answer pretty quickly and the way they want to get it.
So leading into a platform like this is leveraging whatever communication tools that are there to make sure customers are getting answers fast.
Mhm.
And I think that's that is certainly at the core of it and helpful. Give me your thoughts, Rodney, now on AI. How I mean, this obviously it's so much of the narrative now. How not only are you guys maybe using it now in what you're doing, but where do you see it going?
Um, my first comment that I always say to everyone is AI is not going to solve all the problems, but it will definitely help with a lot.
Okay.
We had been using AI from a chatbot standpoint for several years, but the technology wasn't developing. It's
Right.
really kind of exploded in the last 3 or 4 years. And so it has been critical to us. We have events in our business, what's called a rate change, where the post office raises rates. And so a lot of our customers that have a mail machine will call in to say, do I have the new rates already? Or how do I download my rates? Because it's all automated. Very basic questions. They need to do 3 steps on their machine to solve it. We pushed that to the chat bot, and immediately it could handle all of these customer calls, and we didn't have to bring in temps.
Wow.
We added the voice bot, and it handled these very repetitive, easy type activities. And we've now started launching that globally. Again, I was told in Germany the Germans will not use a chat bot. And immediately when we launched it, we're starting to see the traction. So I think that's what we've done with AI. We're now moving into where we use AI to help the agents, because we want to make the agents more productive. We're already doing some call summarization, so the agent doesn't have to retype in the ticket what happened. They can just look at the summary, pull it, cut and paste. We're starting to launch what we call knowledge cards, where as the agent types, it starts pulling up what we believe the answer will be. So AI is helping us in multiple ways. It's helping us serve the customers in a most cost-effective way. but now it's helping our agents so we can say, how do we increase their productivity or lower their handle time? But it's not just that, it's actually making the life of the agent better
Right.
because now they're having the knowledge at their fingertips. So
Right.
that's kind of how we're using it. I think we're pretty new into AI, but I
Mhm.
talk to other companies that say, oh, you're way far ahead of us.
Mhm.
But I think we're improving every day and learning. There's a lot of things you have to learn with AI. It's not going to solve all your problems, but it also changes your structure or your headcount model.
Sure. Sure.
We learned some lessons along the way with that.
It's there's been this backlash recently of companies that over deployed AI, laying off employees, saying like, oh, AI is just going to do the work of our employees. And now, and I can show you a handful of news articles just this past week. I just wrote about it in
Yeah.
Forbes where they're now backtracking, and say, oops, we should not have laid those people off. So you just mentioned about AI being a productivity tool. And I guess that's how you're that's I'm sure that's how you're communicating to your employees about this stuff. It will improve their lives, right?
Yeah, and that's what we've shown. At first, for example, when we launched our first chatbot, everyone panicked. Oh, you're
Yeah.
doing away with our jobs. And we're like, no, we need you to help us build it. We need you to help us build the knowledge in it. But where we made our mistake was what we didn't realize when you move the easy activity to a bot or
Mm,
AI,
mm.
that leaves the complex calls.
Yeah.
So our handle time actually went up. And we had just built the model that, oh, if we move this many calls off, we might be able to reduce by this much. And then we realized we made that mistake. So
Yeah.
when I say your model changes, it changes how you would staff because now you've got to think, oh, my handle time is going to go up because
Yeah.
now my agents are only dealing with the complex stuff. But it's all about the change management and communication
Yeah.
and how you talk to the agents and say, your job may morph and change a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, we're going to reduce staff over time and do that with just normal attrition, but it's all about the communication and we were upfront and honest with the agents. This is what's happening.
Sure.
This is how it's going to help you, and I think that's pretty critical.
You know what makes it hard for managers when you think about it is that AI can do and will be doing more of the lowest level work, the mundane stuff, like you said, the
Yeah,
repetitive stuff, whatever, which means that, you will need more skilled agents to handle the more complex stuff that AI just won't be able to do. But the challenge to that is that how do you get those more skilled? I mean, the more skilled agents, they don't just appear skilled.
right.
They had to learn all that mundane stuff to begin with, the repetitive stuff,
Yeah.
and then work their way up, the food ladder. And now it's a different challenge, I think, for
Yeah.
managers.
Well, and I think that's what's key in keeping your employees engaged and
Mm,
keeping them with you.
mm,
Because one of the things we did, because that was a challenge, we would get a good agent trained and then we would lose them. So
mm.
what we started doing is building career paths where we could, as you learn new things, did different things, stayed with us, you would move up to a next level because we wanted to kind of lock in those agents for several years
Sure.
so we wouldn't lose that knowledge. And we've been pretty successful at that. Our turnover has been pretty low, and our average tenure of our agents today here in North America is probably around 10 to 12 years,
Wow.
which
That's
is
amazing.
unheard of
That is
in
unheard of.
most call centers. And I think by keeping them engaged, keeping them informed, keeping them part of the technology where they're learning, we don't have that turnover that we used to have.
It's great. All right, Rodney, final question. I'll let you go. You've been doing this for a long time. This question gets asked a lot, and I love when it gets asked. I mean, again, it's going back to your younger self. And your younger self, you can put yourself in the position of anybody running a small business. You're a corporate executive that's been focusing on customer service and customer experience for decades. Um, what message would you have for small business owners that want to provide the best level of customer service for their customers? What have you learned really from the
Hmm.
mistakes that you probably made?
Yeah.
What have you learned?
I think you just have to take ownership. You have to be
Mm,
responsive. Like we talked about earlier, you've got to listen to the customer, acknowledge it, and take ownership. I've had some of the worst problems, most heated customers, and if you can just make them feel like you care
yeah.
and that you're going to solve this problem, that's what it takes. And I really don't think it matters whether you're a small business with 5 employees or a big business with 5,000 employees. You've got to have that really culture
Yeah.
of I'm going to be responsive and I'm going to take ownership of this. And that's what's been successful for me.
I asked you for advice to give to a business owner, not advice that you would give to your kids. But that sounds exactly like the kind of advice, right? A father would give or a mother would give to their kids, which is, right, you own your mistakes, fix
Right.
them, right? Be a grown up about it. And everybody will appreciate that. Rodney, great conversation. I really appreciate you spending the time. I want to wish you all the best at Quadient. You do just great work. So thank you for speaking with me.
All right. You're quite welcome. Thank you.
Yep, everybody, you've been watching us. My name is Gene Marks, and we've been talking with Rodney Tovvas, who is the VP of Global Inbound Customer Experience at Quadient, and he has just offered us some great advice for customer service for really any size organization. So, hope you've enjoyed the conversation. Hope you'll enjoy our future conversations as well. Again, another thank you to Rodney for joining me, and we will see you all next time. Take care.